10 years ago, I saw my mother's lifeless body at the bottom of the stairs. My father stood over her, his hands shaking, muttering lies about an accident. I was only 15, too scared to speak. But I never forgot. For a decade, I carried that secret like a stone in my chest, until I hunted him down. This is my story, and trust me, you won't believe how it ends. I am David, and I am 30 years old. My life is a shadow, stretched long and cold by a single night when I was 15, a night that carved a wound so deep it still bleeds. The world thinks it knows me, but the truth is a jagged blade buried in my chest for a decade, waiting for the moment to strike. This is my story, a secret I kept locked away until it clawed its way out, demanding blood. Buckle up, because what follows is a descent into darkness, where every step drips with suspense and the air hums with the thrill of retribution. It was a humid summer evening in 2010, the kind where the air feels like a damp rag pressed against your face. I was holed up in my room, a cramped attic space with peeling wallpaper and a flickering bulb. My headphones blasted heavy metal, drowning out the chaos downstairs. My parents' fights were a nightly ritual. Sharp words, slammed doors. But this time, the venom in their voices cut deeper. My mother's tone wasn't just angry. It was desperate, pleading. Then a scream. Her scream. It sliced through the music like a knife through flesh. I tore off my headphones, heart hammering, and stumbled to the staircase. The house was dim, the only light a sickly yellow glow from the kitchen. I froze at the top step, my breath catching. There she was, my mother, crumpled at the bottom of the stairs like a broken doll. Blood pooled beneath her head, a dark halo spreading across the hardwood. Her eyes, wide and glassy, stared at nothing. And there, looming over her, was my father. His hands trembled, his face pale, but his eyes, they were ice-cold, calculating. He muttered, "She felt it was an accident," pacing like a caged animal. But I saw it, the flicker of guilt, the lie etched into his clenched jaw. He'd pushed her. I knew it. I was 15, scrawny and terrified, and fear glued my tongue to the roof of my mouth. He didn't see me, hidden in the shadows. That moment branded itself into my soul. The police came, their radios crackling, their boots heavy on the floor. They called it an accident. A tragic fall, they said, caused by a loose rug. My father played the grieving widow with perfection. Tears streaming, voice breaking as he clutched her photo at the funeral. Neighbors whispered condolences. But I stood there, fists balled, nails biting into my palms until they bled. No one suspected him. No one but me. I was the only witness to his crime, and that knowledge became my cage, its bars tightening with every passing day. My father didn't just kill my mother. He was a shadow in a darker world, one I only glimpsed as a kid. Late-night phone calls, hushed voices, men in leather jackets slipping envelopes into his hands. These were the fragments I pieced together over time. He ran drugs, extortion rackets, maybe worse. He was a kingpin in a small, grimy empire, and he thought he'd buried his biggest sin. But I was watching, always watching, my silent vow to never forget. After the funeral, I was sent to live with my aunt in a neighboring town. She was kind, but distant, her house a maze of creaky floors and faded curtains. I kept to myself, a quiet kid with storm raging inside. At night, I'd lie awake, replaying that scream, that fall, the way my father's eyes betrayed him. I started digging. A teenager with a library card and a cheap laptop can learn a lot. I found whispers of his name in local crime reports. Drug bust gone wrong. A bar fight tied to his crew. By the time I was 18, I knew he was a wanted man, his empire fraying as the law closed in. He'd vanished, a ghost slipping through cities, always one step ahead of the cops. But not ahead of me. For 10 years, I planned. I wasn't a scared boy anymore. I worked dead-end jobs, gas stations, warehouses, saving every cent. I taught myself to track a man who didn't want to be found. I learned to navigate the dark web, to follow leads in dive bars where men spoke in code. I hacked into public records, piecing together his aliases, his safe houses, his weaknesses. Every dead and fueled my rage, every clue a spark in the dark. I lived for one thing, finding him, The years were a blur of sleepless nights and close calls. Once, in a seedy motel, I miss him by hours, his cigarette still smoldering in an ashtray. Another time, I bribed a lowlife for a tip, only to find an empty apartment, the air thick with the stench of bleach. He was a phantom, but I was relentless. My mother's face haunted me. Her smile, her voice, the way she tucked me in before everything went wrong. She deserved justice. I'd give it to her, no matter the cost. In 2020, I got my break. A contact on a shady forum tipped me off. A warehouse on the edge of an industrial ghost town, a place where the air reeked of oil and despair. My heart raced as I drove through the night, the road stretching into darkness. No stars to guide me. The warehouse loomed ahead, a rusted skeleton under a moonless sky. I parked a mile away, my breath shallow, the knife in my jacket a cold comfort. This was it. 10 years of waiting, planning, hunting, it all led here. I slipped inside, the door creaking like a warning. The air was heavy, thick with dust and the tang of metal. A single bulb swung overhead, casting jagged shadows. There he was, at a table littered with cash and papers, counting his blood money. His hair was grayer, his face carved with lines, but those eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, were the same. My pulse thundered, a drumbeat in my ears. I stepped into the light, and he froze. David. His voice cracked, a mix of shock and fear. He stood, knocking over a stack of bills, his hand inching toward a gun on the table. I was faster. My knife gleamed, a promise kept. You remember her, I said, my voice low, trembling with a decade of rage. You remember what you did. His eyes widened, realization dawning. He opened his mouth to beg to lie, but I didn't give him the chance. One thrust, clean and quick, to his chest. He gasped, clutching at the wound, his knees buckling. He fell, just like she did, his blood pooling on the concrete, mingling with the dust. I stood over him, watching the light fade from his eyes. The warehouse was silent, save for the drip of blood and my ragged breathing. For the first time in 10 years, the weight lifted. I felt free, but the thrill of that moment was laced with something darker, a whisper in the back of my mind, his voice saying, "You're just like me." I could have run. The warehouse was a dead end, my father a ghost no one would miss. But that's not who I am. The next morning, I walked into the courthouse, my hand steady, my heart calm. The room fell silent as I spoke. I killed him, I said, my voice cutting through the murmurs. Gasps echoed, but I didn't flinch. I told them everything. My mother's murder, my father's crimes. The decade I carried us in like a curse. The judge, an older woman with kind eyes, listened as I described the boy who'd lost his world. The courtroom was a blur of faces, reporters, strangers, all staring as I laid my truth bare. They gave me 5 years. A light sentence, they said, because my life had been shattered by the man I killed. I called it closure. In prison, I kept to myself, the memory of that night in the warehouse both a comfort and a haunt. I'd done what I had to do, but the whispers didn't stop, his voice in the dark mocking me. You're just like me. I pushed it down, buried it deep, but it lingered, a splinter under my skin. Now, at 30, I'm out. The world has moved on, but I haven't. I live in a small apartment, the walls bare, the nights long. I don't regret a thing, not the waiting, not the blood, not the bars. My mother's face is clearer now, her smile a light in the dark. But sometimes in the dead of night, when the world is quiet, I hear him, that whisper, slithering from the shadows. You're just like me. I tell myself it's a lie, but the thrill of that moment, the knife, the blood, the justice, still hums in my veins. And that's the one secret I'll never tell.